Good Yantif and welcome. Bruchim Habayim. Thank you for joining us this evening for Kol Nidre with Temple Anshe Amunim. We come together tonight for one of the holiest nights of our year. We are together even though we are physically apart. We are united in our spirit, in our purpose, in our connection, in our history. We are united through our liturgy and through our reflection and reverence. Throughout the holidays, particularly on Yom Kippur, we offer our prayers in the first person plural. We have sinned. We have transgressed. We will do better. We are imperfect, and we are trying to improve. We are still a we. The Jewish people have endured for centuries, overcoming trials and challenges, difficulties and tests. We are still a we. Tonight, in just a moment, Cantor Slusky will offer the words of Kol Nidre, asking to absolve us of the vows and oaths we made between the last Day of Atonement and this one, all the promises and responsibilities we could not uphold. We acknowledge that we are human. We make mistakes. We strive to do better. Tonight, we begin a full day of reflection and introspection, the culmination of our High Holy Day season. The gates are open for our prayers, our hopes, and our thoughts. Gemar Chatima Tova. May we all be sealed this day for blessings. May light be sown for the righteous, or Zarua la Tzadik. All vows, resolves, and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of dedication that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves from this day of atonement until next day of atonement. May it find us well. We regret them, and for all of them we repent. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. They are not valid, and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths, they shall not be oaths. Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha, Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha, and God responded, I forgive as you have asked. Tefillah is a journey from the God of the ancients to my rock and my Redeemer. On most nights, you stand on the holy summit of Tefillah and see before you a land that calls out for redemption, for healing, for peace, a world that needs you. Kol Nidre is different. Tefillah tonight is an inward journey that takes you deep within yourself, pierces you to the core. You stand on the holy summit of this tefillah and see before you the land within, a weary soul, yearning to be forgiven, longing to be loved.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham v'Sara, Elohei Yitzchak v'Rivka, v'Elohei Yaakov v'Rachel v'Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei HaKol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot, v'Zocher Chasdei Imahot, u'mevii geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חופץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים. למענך אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, עזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחייל הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים
Ata v'charta mikol ha'amim. Today, the Jewish mission is not diminished. In a world that still cries out for healing, where suffering and narrowness are endemic, to be chosen means to have a special calling to teach that all human beings are children of God, created in God's image, and must be treated as sacred. That Judaism is a small nation is no bar to this task. Many of the nations that have changed the world have been small. The Athens of Socrates and Plato, the England of Queen Elizabeth and Shakespeare, the America of Washington and Jefferson. No nation, great or small, has touched humanity more deeply than the tiny nation of Isaiah and Jeremiah. Chosenness is not a privilege to boast of, but a task to be undertaken. It is to keep constantly in mind the words of the prophet Micah. It has been told to you, O mortal, what is good and what the Eternal requires of you. Only this, to do justly and love mercy and walk humbly with your God. V'tacher libeinu le'avdecha 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 behemet v'tacher libeinu le'avdecha 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 behemet v'tacher libeinu le'avdecha 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 behemet v'tacher libeinu le'avdecha 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 behemet. Purify our hearts, O God, to serve you in truth. We take a few moments to turn inward for personal silent prayer. God of consolation, surely you count in heaven just as we count here on earth. In shock and in sorrow, the souls sent back to you one by one. The dead from the COVID pandemic, as the ones become tens, the tens become hundreds, the hundreds become thousands, the thousands become 10,000s, and then 100,000s. Each soul a heartbreak, each soul a life denied. God of wisdom, surely in the halls of divine justice, you are assembling the courts, calling witnesses to testify, to proclaim the compassion of some and the callousness of others. As we've struggled to cope, the souls taken too soon, whose funerals were lonely, who didn't need to die, who died alone. They will tell you their stories when you judge our triumphs and our failures in these hours of need. God of healing, put an end to this pandemic and all illness and disease. Bless those who stand in service to humanity. Bless those who grieve. Bless the dead so that their souls are bound up in the bond of life eternal. And grant those still afflicted with disease or trauma a complete and lasting healing, one by one, until their suffering ceases and we can stop counting the dead in heaven and on earth. Thinking of our loved ones and all those in need of healing, we offer this blessing of strength.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Ashamnu. When I was young and learned the alphabet, life was open to me. A was full of aspiration. B was for beauty. C for confidence. And D for dreams. And so on through the list. No fewer than 26 opportunities, 26 possibilities. And yet I fear that with the passage of time, I've squandered them, creating instead A's of apathy, B's of brusqueness, and C's of coarseness. Help me then to return to that innocence. Let the letters be letters once again, and let them rise to the heavens and form into the words that you know I wish to say. al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sins we have sinned against you, O God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement. Who among us is blameless? Who shall say, I have not erred, I have not wronged or sinned? We abuse, we brutalize, we covet, we deceive, we enslave, we feud, we gossip, we humiliate, we injure, we judge unfairly, we kill, we lie, we manipulate, we neglect, we ostracize, we plagiarize, we quarrel, we rage, we shame, we turn away, we undermine, we vilify, we waste, we exploit the earth, we yearn too much for yesterday and too easily forget Zion. Our sins are an alphabet of woe. Help us, Holy One, to follow your ways of integrity, justice, and love. Teach us to seek forgiveness with humility and an open heart. Shema Kolenu. Hear our call, Adonai our God. Show us compassion. Accept our prayer with love and goodwill. Take us back, Adonai. Let us come back to you. Renew our days as in the past. Hear our words, Adonai. Understand our unspoken thoughts. May the speech of our mouth and our heart's quiet prayer be acceptable to you, God, our rock and our Redeemer. Do not cast us away from your presence or cut us off from your Holy Spirit. Do not cast us away when we are old, as our strength diminishes. Do not forsake us. Do not forsake us, Adonai. Be not far from us, our God. With hope, Adonai, we await you. Surely you, Adonai, our God, you will answer.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachim Aleinu, Aleinu, V'kabel berachamim, berachamim, uv'ratzon, et tfilatenu. Hashivenu Adonai elecha, Hashivenu elecha v'nashuva, Chadish Yameinu, Yameinu, Kekedem. תשליכנו. Shema kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Chus v'rachim Aleinu Aleinu V'kabel ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו.
Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn to not live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get rid of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek the answers? Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu va'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, and give us courage, for the answers are both in you and with you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu, v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kol Nidre, v'cherev v'ra'av, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kalei chotzar, u'mastir.
I want to invite you to close your eyes, lower your gaze, or find another way to turn inward. Focusing on your breath in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine that it is a different day, a different time. Imagine it is Kol Nidre 5782, September 15th, 2021. Let's set the scene. I hope, I pray that we are back together in our beautiful sanctuary on Broad Street, safely gathering in person for this sacred night. We have opened the Ark and our Torahs are being held on the Bima, witnesses in the heavenly courtroom we have entered. We hear the first notes of our Kol Nidre prayer, chanted so beautifully by Cantor Slusky this evening. And we are together again, so our choir joins in too. It's bittersweet to think ahead to 1 year from now, because it is a reminder of what we are missing. I invite you to acknowledge these feelings of sadness and loss, and in your mind's eye, watch them float away. We are back in the sanctuary, and we are home. It is 1 year from now, and now listen to us. Imagine us reading these words together. All vows, resolves, and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of dedication, that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves from this day of atonement until the next day of atonement. May it find us well. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. They are not valid and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths, they shall not be oaths. These are the words of our Kol Nidre declaration, from this day of atonement to the next day of atonement. Standing together back in our sanctuary on Kol Nidre 5782 in September 2021, we will say these same words that we said tonight. That's the power of ritual and of our Jewish calendar. We return year after year to familiar words and blessings. So what will we be thinking about a year from now? Not on this day of atonement, but at the next one. What are the vows we will be asking to be discarded, forgiven, abolished, and undone? I invite you back into the present moment. Each year, we know Kol Nidre is coming. Each year, we know we have the opportunity to change, reflect, ask for forgiveness, to repair and rebuild. And each year, we know we will say these words that absolve us of the vows we could not fulfill. We look to the past, to the vows we made between last year, 2019, 5780, and this one. Tonight, I invite us to look to the future. When we made vows and promises a year ago, we could have never, in our wildest dreams, have imagined that the year 2020 would unfold as it did. All of our lives have been impacted and continue to be shaped by the coronavirus pandemic, some in minor ways and in some very major ways. Even with some historical antecedents, we have no context for staying at home, social distancing, quarantining, and so many folks working or learning from home. Knowing on Kol Nidre a year ago what we know now, impossible of course, what different decisions might we have made this year? And looking forward, with our lives irreversibly shaped by the events of the past months, how will we change our behaviors, our lives, our ways of being in the world, and the promises we make, and the vows we swear to keep? Our families, homes, and communities have sustained us in this time, even as staying at home and staying connected to community has been challenging too. And our nation has been put to the test this year in ways foreseen and ways unimaginable. We have been ravaged by the coronavirus. The death toll is staggering and our hearts are breaking. Our economy is suffering, and our nation is more fractured than ever. Politically, we are divided, polarized between right and left. To make matters worse, with the impacts of COVID, many of us are pretty much staying put or traveling only locally or regionally. Not only are we separated from each other socially and ideologically, but often physically as well. While I can picture Kol Nidre a year from now, I often struggle to picture what is going on in different corners of the country, simply because it feels so far away and so radically different from what we are experiencing here, locally. And our nation is breaking and our hearts are broken because of the consistent police brutality toward Black people. For those who experience the privilege of being white, we are working hard to listen, to learn, and to practice tzimtzum, to take up less space in this conversation, while at the same time working hard to speak up and be allies. As Jews, we know the unique and significant legacy of anti-Semitism. We know it is not the same as racism, and yet we can open our hearts to the struggles of Black people in America who have suffered from hate and bigotry for decades. Whether we're on the sidelines or active in this conversation, we all have a part to play and a responsibility, an obligation to work hard to do what's right. So much brokenness, broken plans, broken hearts, broken promises. That brokenness is certainly in our past. So what about this year? What can we say about the year that will unfold from this Day of Atonement until the next Day of Atonement? What are the vows that we will make that we will not ask to be absolved of? What are the vows that we will keep? Cooper Lerner, a new member of our congregation, has taken the lead on a voter registration initiative organized by the Religious Action Center, the Reform Movement's social justice office in Washington, D.C. Cooper comes to our temple with a passion for voter enfranchisement and making sure everyone's voice in our nation is heard. Last month at a Social Action Committee meeting, Cooper offered to teach everyone about phone banking. To be honest, Cooper said, people usually hang up or don't pick up. But if you reach even one person, you may make a difference. And that is why our Social Action Committee endorsed the RAC's Every Voice, Every Vote campaign for voter registration, to ensure that historically low represented and excluded groups will get the right to participate in our democracy this year. It may make a difference to one person, one action, one vow, one promise we can keep. One of my favorite stories goes like this. A person walking along a beach at dawn saw another person bend down, pick up a starfish, and toss it out to sea. "Why are you doing that?" the first inquired. The second person explained that the starfish had been stranded on the beach at low tide and would soon die in the daytime sun. "But the beach goes on for miles," the first said, "and there are so many. How can you make any difference?" The second person looked down at the starfish in hand and without hesitating, threw it to safety in the sea. Looking up at the first person, they smiled and said, "It will make a difference to that one." It will make a difference to that one. This story, perhaps one you've heard before, embodies a key Jewish value we learn in Pirkei Avot. It is not your duty to complete the work, neither are you free to ignore it. It is not your duty to save every starfish on the beach, but that doesn't mean we're off the hook. And small actions add up. Even if we start in our homes, move out to our communities, we still have an impact on our nation and our world. Making one voter registration call, showing up at one protest for a cause you care about, writing one letter to the editor, donating one can of green beans to our Thanksgiving Angels or Pifty food drives. It sounds a little silly when I say it that way, donating one can of green beans, but it will make a difference for that one person. Why, I'm often asked, does Kol Nidre let us off the hook? Why are the vows we inevitably did not keep from the last day of atonement to this one discarded and forgiven? In the biblical era, in our Torah, vows were taken quite seriously. Over the summer, in our wonderful weekly Torah study group, we read the story of Jephthah the judge and his daughter. Jephthah vowed that if he were victorious in battle, he would sacrifice the first thing that walked out the door on his arrival home. It was his daughter, and he wept and wept. He had no way out of that vow. Today, in modern times, we have a safety valve. We are absolved of vows that we cannot fulfill. This should only inspire us to try, to make mistakes, to fail, and to learn. To put ourselves in uncomfortable situations and conversations so that we can grow. To take one positive action at a time to tip the balance of the scales of our nation from brokenness to wholeness. It is not yet Kol Nidre 5782. It is the cusp of the year 5781. It is still the year 2020 in our nation and our world. What vows will you keep this year to work toward the repair of our world? We honor the memory of our loved ones with words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach leolam almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlam Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories truly be a blessing for us all.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and renewed again. Return again.
God, grant us the strength and the resolve to keep our vows this year. All promises, oaths, and obligations, all responsibilities and commitments we take upon ourselves. Let us strive from this Day of Atonement to the next Day of Atonement to fulfill all that we set out to do. Grant us the bravery to try difficult things and to make mistakes, to fail. Grant us self-compassion when we fall short and the courage to try again. Let us do what is hard and walk on new paths. Let us commit to taking small actions that add up. Let us make a difference, one starfish, one vote, one protest, one canned good at a time. Let us make our homes, our communities, our nation, and our world just a little bit better this year than it was the year before. From this Day of Atonement to the next Day of Atonement, may we find strength, resolve, wisdom, and peace. Gemar Chatima Tova.